Today we're going to be talking about Kenobi's episode 1 and 2.
So the first thing we should discuss is the youngling scene in the beginning and what it's going to mean for the future. Because we kind of get the vibe that those younglings are going to be important later down the road. Maybe one of them's the Inquisitor, you reckon?
Well, if you look at the four kids that we first see when episode 1 of Kenobi, right? So it starts off where you see the 4 younglings.
Yeah.
That young girl there, she has to be the third sister.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So the thing is, she's got to have some weird obsession with Kenobi. But the reason is, what's her obsession? She's got like a cult-like obsession with him.
Yeah, and it's possible that it's related purely on the basis that she was trained by Vader. But it seems to be a bit more personal than that, don't you think?
Yeah, it has to be more. She's obsessed with him for who he is as Kenobi. Not. I don't think there's any relation between her being obsessed with Obi-Wan and Vader. It's just purely Obi-Wan. I suspect she's obsessed with him probably when Obi-Wan was fighting alongside Anakin. They must have gone to her planet, wherever she's from, was probably under attack by the Separatists. Her family have probably been wiped out, and Obi-Wan is the one that saved her. Anakin's then come back into it to kind of say to Obi-Wan, like, look, the situation's bad, we need to go. And Obi-Wan's taken her with him back to, obviously, Coruscant.
Yeah, that's possible. But the thing I have with that though is I think that's plausible. The problem is that she also knows that Anakin is Darth Vader, and that's not something that most people know. So how would she know that?
How does she know that Vader is Anakin? Well, at the time of Order 66, she was quite young. It's possible she's witnessed Anakin carrying out Order 66.
Yeah.
That's probably how she knows. So she's probably seen him as like, oh, there's Master Skywalker. He's with clone troopers. Hold up a second. Why is he attacking the Jedi? Something's clearly not right. Or if it's not that, if she didn't see Anakin executing Order 66, has she come across the hologram recording of Emperor Palpatine with Anakin on his knees, and he's saying to Anakin, "Rise, Lord Vader"?
Yeah, I think that's possible, but I mean, at the same time, she wouldn't have had access to those records at the time. And if they were that freely available, all of the Inquisitors would know that he's Skywalker. And based on what we've seen from him so far, none of them do.
No, that's a fair point. None of the other Inquisitors know that obviously Anakin has become Vader. Maybe it's got something to do with her mind reading force ability. But then if you say, okay, she's used her ability in the Force to read people's minds, whose mind has she read? Won't be Vader's, because he's practically like Fort Knox. He's impenetrable.
Yeah, because what a lot of people forget is that everyone's always going, oh, why don't you just use a Jedi mind trick on them? And you're just like, that only works on the weak-minded, like the Stormtroopers. You can't use something like that on someone with a high level of resistance, like Vader or Obi-Wan Kenobi would have. I mean, if you look in like one of the episodes of the Clone Wars, 3 Jedi Masters had to all concentrate at the same time on Cad Bane just to be able to read his mind.
Okay, you mentioning about the clones. Has she at some point come across Rex or Cody and used her mind trick on one of them to then find out?
I mean, she'd definitely be able to use it on some of the clones. I mean, not all of them are susceptible to that. The ones that are a bit more individual, like Cody and Rex,
So then that
their
was
resistance to being mind probed is quite high. But as we know, with Darth Maul and Count Dooku, it is possible to read their mind. So it's possible that she got it that way. But then at the same time, where would she have encountered them if she was a youngling?
Encountered Rex and Cody.
Yeah. Because Cody wouldn't know that Anakin is Darth Vader. He'd know about Anakin Skywalker.
But then, so then the only clone that would probably know then would be Rex.
Yeah, but as we know, he's quite resistant to mind control because remember in the Clone Wars when they activated the chips, he was actively resisting it. And even though he lost in the end, the fact that he had the willpower to ignore it as long as he did before it was removed is quite telling.
See, thinking about that now, does Rex know that Vader is Anakin?
See, I don't think he does. He knows of Anakin because he worked for Anakin. But I don't think he knows Darth Vader. Because he wasn't there, I don't think. No, he wasn't. Because if you remember, he was on the mission on Mandalore with Ahsoka. So he wasn't at Coruscant when that order was given. And therefore wasn't there with Vader.
No, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. I forgot about that. Obviously, he was there. So he wouldn't have known about the transition between Anakin becoming Vader.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, there is records of him becoming Darth Vader. But if they knew that there were records there, then why wouldn't they have destroyed them afterwards?
Why has
spent 10 years?
Why has Vader not had them records destroyed? And two, why don't the other Inquisitors, especially the Grand Inquisitor, why don't they know that Anakin is Vader?
Yeah, if any of them should know. It should be the Grand Inquisitor because, as you know, he used to be a Jedi Temple Guard, so he knew Anakin.
So then, what's another reason for how she's the only one to know Anakin is Vader?
I think it's quite possible that, as you said, she saw Anakin committing Order 66, but maybe she was confused then as to why it was happening, and then as she left, she saw the message that the Emperor put out later to the Senate saying that they attempted to take control of the Senate. So maybe she believed the lie.
Oh, so she believes the manipulation that the Emperor's put out. And that basically, in a way, she's under the impression Anakin had no choice but to kill the Jedi because they were going to overthrow him.
Yeah, so that in her mind, then maybe... In her mind, Vader is now the hero of this story in that he found out about the plot and he turned against them to help the Republic vanquish them. Maybe she actually believes in that whole story because based on what we've seen of her so far, aside from the fact that she's clearly unstable, she has quite a high level of hatred towards the other Inquisitors.
See,
who were Jedi.
She's unstable like Kylo Ren.
Yeah, in a way, I think so, yeah.
Obviously, he was more split between light and dark. She's not.
No.
She has a passionate hatred for Kenobi.
And maybe the reason she hates Kenobi is because she found out what happened on Mustafar. So he's then completely crippled and wounded her hero, essentially. Maybe.
Yeah, it's possible. I don't know why, but I just have this inclination feeling that when she was still a youngling, she obviously found out, okay, Anakin's practically past the Padawan stage. He doesn't need a master anymore. She probably when Obi-Wan, let's say Obi-Wan rescued her from her home planet after it was being ravaged. That started her cult-like obsession with Kenobi. As a youngling, she's then found out, okay, Kenobi's done with Skywalker. She's probably asked him, can I be your new Padawan? And he just downright rejected her. To then further fuel her hatred for him, she found out what Obi-Wan done to Anakin on Mustafar. And that's fully cemented her hatred for him.
Yeah, see, I'm not sure about that one because, while it's clear that she's obsessed with Kenobi, there's no indication that she actively hates Kenobi in the same way. It seems more like she's obsessed with capturing him, not killing him, for Vader.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
And also, what I just remembered from watching the Clone Wars is Jedi Masters like Kenobi, can request new Padawans, but they don't choose them. Yoda chooses them. Because if you remember, he requested a new Padawan at the start of the Clone Wars, but instead of him getting one, Anakin got one instead.
Anakin got Ahsoka.
Which means Yoda made that choice. Yoda decided that. So maybe she was in line to be one of the ones that that Kenobi was going to get, and she mistakenly believed that him not getting a Padawan was because he said he didn't want one, or maybe she doesn't know about.
So then maybe she's on. So maybe he was due to be her master. She was under the impression, but then she found out, oh, you're going to someone else. Oh, what's the name of the one who becomes a second sister?
Trilla.
So she probably ended up maybe as Trilla's Padawan as opposed to Obi-Wan. And if she's been fed a lie that Obi-Wan didn't want another Padawan and downright rejected her, could be a potential reason for her obsession with Kenobi.
I think the only issue that we have there is we don't know what stage Trilla was in her training. It's based on the information we got from the game. She seemed like she was still a Padawan at the time, which means she hadn't been knighted yet.
So then she wouldn't have had a Padawan.
No, then as the Jedi say, they're not allowed to have another Padawan if they've already got one. They have to wait until their Padawan has been knighted before they take on another one.
So maybe her idol then is probably not Kenobi himself, but Anakin. And she's probably trying to capture Kenobi to appease Vader. So she can get what she wants, and that's to be the next Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah, because it makes sense to a degree if you think about it. Because Anakin was the most well-known Jedi.
Yeah.
In the Republic, and probably one of the best.
Yeah.
And so she probably associates the fact that he was the best with the fact that he was trained by Obi-Wan Kenobi.
It's all quite possible. Unless we're missing something that either we've skipped over or they've yet to reveal. Because she has, as I said, it's like a fangirl, downright cult-like obsession with Kenobi. But is that her own obsession with Kenobi, or is that an obsession with Kenobi to appease Vader?
Yeah, because that could have quite easily have been instilled in her while she was being trained as an Inquisitor. Because as far as I'm aware, what it sounds like is that she was a youngling, the Inquisitors found her, and then they trained her. But because she was only a youngling or a Padawan at the time, they looked down on her.
Was Trilla the one to find her during Order 66, and she's trained her to become the third sister?
It's certainly possible, but I mean, obviously, I'm not too clear on the timeline for those two at the moment. But I think Fallen Order takes place after Kenobi, but I'm not too clear on the timelines. What we do know is that Trilla and her Master Seer were protecting a group of younglings, and that they were then under torture, Seer gave up her Padawan and the younglings.
Because her knowing Vader is Anakin, she will die. I don't think she'll die probably in, let's say, season 1 of Kenobi. I think it'll be too quick to bring her in as a brand new character, build her up, just to have her slaughtered in episode 6. I think give it to probably season 2, maybe a season 3, and Vader will find out she knows that he's Anakin. He will wipe her out. She will die.
Yeah, I mean, based on how she presents herself in these last 2 episodes, she has a very strong sense of self-entitlement, and that is going to get her in trouble. Yeah, because let's be realistic. If you keep overstepping your bounds, all it takes is for her to make one mistake. Like she tells Vader that she knows who he actually is.
Don't get me wrong.
He might take that the wrong way and just kill her anyway.
I like her as a character. I think she's an interesting character. Arrogant as everything. Arrogant as hell. She oversteps her mark way too much. Pisses off the other Inquisitors, including the Grand Inquisitor. she will at some point slip. I think what will happen is the mission that she's on under the orders of Lord Vader is she'll go fail her mission, have to report back to Vader. She'll come in a way groveling to Vader. Vader will turn around and be like, look, you're no good to me. You failed your mission. I don't need you. And he'll basically say to her faces, I'm disposing of you. In her anger will cloud her judgment. And she'll either let slip to say like, oh, is that how you're going to treat me then? Anakin or Skywalker? She'll either say his name, Anakin or Skywalker. I don't think she'll call him Anakin Skywalker. It'll be one or the other. And then Vader will obviously be like, I'm sorry, you call me what?
If she has the same level of respect for him that we think she does, she'll probably call him Master Skywalker, and that will piss him off.
Or her turning around and calling him Master Skywalker. Yeah, it's possible. But that's what I think will happen is she will fail her mission. Vader will obviously be like, look, I don't need you. You're worthless to me. You had a mission. It was a simple mission. You have failed. You have failed me for the last time, Inquisitor. And he'll either turn around, let's say for argument's sake, the fifth brother, and he'll be like, dispose of her. He will take it gladly. Her and her anger, not only at the fifth brother, at Vader, she'll turn around and be like, okay, is that how it's going to end then, Skywalker? And as opposed to, let's say, the fifth brother killing her, Vader, under hearing her calling him Anakin or Skywalker, he's going to make an example of her. He's not just going to kill her outright. He will torture her and he will make an example out of her. So the other Inquisitors will know, do not ever call me that.
Yeah.
But then the problem is with that.
Then you've got the fifth brother being aware of his identity, and you don't. I
just realised that is the problem is the fifth brother is there as well.
I think what will
he'll have to kill the fifth brother as well.
What will probably happen is they might have some of the purge troopers there, and after he kills her, he then kills them. Because he has a reputation of killing his own men when someone learns his identity. Like in one of the comics when he was after the librarian, Jocasta Nu. She mentions that she knows who he is, and she tells the clone troopers in his employ that he's Anakin Skywalker, and he kills them all.
I don't think it'll be that. I think it'll be she'll fail her mission. She'll go to his headquarters on Mustafar by herself, and then he's going to obliterate her.
Yeah.
She'll slip up in her judgment. It'll be clouded due to her anger of him basically disposing of her, not giving her what she wants. She'll stand there, kind of put her head down, look, kind of grit her teeth, and then call him by his name. And then he's going to smash her around his office, probably throw her out the window. And then he's just going to kind of do to her what Obi-Wan done to him. He'll wreck her. She will die. There's no... I don't think it will be in these 6 episodes. I say give it, let's say, a season 2. She will be killed.
And I think what also kind of leads us into thinking that she's going to die is a lot of the traits that she's shown right now is how Anakin was. He was arrogant, he was brash, he always thought he was correct, he went around his superiors. Maybe he sees that similarity to himself, and as soon as she says his name, he's just like, no, I'm eliminating this now.
So he looks at her like himself, back how he was when he was Anakin.
And so when maybe inevitably he does lose to Obi-Wan, which we suspect, maybe part of him symbolically killing Anakin Skywalker is someone that's so similar to him and could go down the same path, and he just eliminates her.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because the way she comes off, like with her brashness, her arrogance, and all of that stuff, it reeks of Anakin to me.
Yeah, she's completely full of herself. She thinks, not only do I deserve to be an Inquisitor, but I deserve to be the top of the food chain. I deserve to be the Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah, because if you remember, that was always one of Anakin Skywalker's chief complaints. He was like, how can you be on the Jedi Council but not be a master? Yeah. And that level of self-entitlement, it reeks off of her. So maybe he finally sees the similarity to himself and he kills her because he believes that Anakin should die.
So he's basically seen his past mistakes in her. He's obviously learned from his mistakes, and now he's going to use...
And I think that will happen after he loses to Obi-Wan again.
He'll lose to Obi-Wan, and then she's going to slip up, and he will slaughter her.
And then he'll question her on the mistakes that she's now made, and she'll comment on the fact that he lost to Kenobi, say his name, and then he eliminates her.
Oh, so basically she'll start poking and prodding him, and then she'll kind of, in a way, mock him for losing to Kenobi.
Yeah.
And she'll be like, oh, but you were supposed to be the once great Anakin Skywalker. How could you lose to Kenobi? Ain't you supposed to be the chosen one? That's going to set off Vader. Vader's going to go pure hatred, and he's, as I said, he'll make an example of her, and then he'll somehow send that, her death, to the other Inquisitors to say, mess up, this is your fate. He won't have it. It'll probably be like a recording, but it won't be a recording of her saying his name. It'll be a recording of him. It'll basically be edited.
Yeah.
Her coming to him, groveling, trying to say, forgive me, Lord Vader. Let me make it up to you. Him saying, no, you have failed me for the last time. I don't need you. Edits out the bit where she reveals he's Anakin, and it's just him slaughtering her. That's how I think Harry could go.
Yeah, I mean, we know that they can edit holograms in that way. I mean, we saw the Emperor do it when he was talking to Ezra Bridger. Remember when he was trying to get him to let him into the world between worlds?
Yeah.
He came to him in the visage of kindly old Senator Palpatine. And then when he destroyed the hologram, he saw that it was actually like Darth Sidious, the way he actually looks.
So then, yeah, that's what it could be. Is it's a recording. She goes, begs for forgiveness. No, don't need ya. It's just down to one-on-one in his HQ on Mustafar. Edits out the bit in the middle, the key bit, and then it's her gruesome, brutal death.
Yeah.
At the hands of Vader.
It's going to happen.
It will happen. Oh, 100%. It's going to happen. She will die at the hands of Lord Vader. She won't die anyone else other than Vader.
The way I see it happening is that I think she's going to be key into his symbolic killing of Anakin Skywalker, because she's very similar to him in personality. So he's going to kill her, and by doing this act, it's basically him killing Anakin Skywalker from himself.
So basically completely shutting himself down from the light side of the Force.
Well, I mean, he's already done that.
In a way that he's completely... Anakin's dead. That's it. The legend that he was, all he was built up to be, the chosen one, the one to bring the balance in the Force, he's dead. That's it. He's done. I'm no longer Anakin. I'm just Lord Vader.
Yeah, I think that's going to be like... She's going to be like instrumental in that symbolic killing of Anakin, I think.
So she's going to be basically the trigger point of Anakin dying.
Yeah.
Him fully, completely dying. In a metaphorical sense, not a physical sense.
Yeah, I mean, we know that there was always a bit of him in there anyway, because otherwise Luke's pleas wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
But what we do also know is that Vader did create a very big distinction between himself and Anakin Skywalker, to the point where he never allowed anyone to call him by Skywalker's name. The only person that I remember ever called him by the Skywalker name after that was the Emperor, and that was always in a mocking way.
Yeah, that's a fair point. So he the only one really that's allowed to call him by his name is the Emperor. And the way Vader is now, he knows that he can allow the Emperor to call him either Anakin or Skywalker, and he can never do anything about it because he's not powerful enough
to
challenge the Emperor.
Which is why as you know, that's probably why the Emperor does it in the first place, because he knows.
Yeah, he knows that it's like...
There's no consequences for
Yeah, he knows, like, you are no match for me, Lord Vader. I will call you Skywalker, and there's nothing you can do about it. And as you said, he does it to mock him, just to piss him off even more. Or is it that he mocks him by calling him either Anakin or calling him Skywalker?
Skywalker usually.
But does he do it to call him Skywalker to fuel his anger even more, to make him more powerful in the dark side?
Everything that the Emperor does is to keep Anakin under his thumb. Everything.
Then he's probably doing that. Then he probably keeps calling him Skywalker to keep him
in his place.
Deep, one, in his place, and two, to delve him more into the dark side.
Yeah, because he knows that Vader's trigger is the fact that he failed as Anakin Skywalker. That has always been his trigger.
Well, there's that, and then there's his other trigger is if he keeps bringing up Padme.
Yeah, and Kenobi.
Bringing up Kenobi, that's just another thing.
But I think, as I said before, as we saw in A New Hope when we watched it, the hatred that he had for Kenobi, while it was still there, wasn't in control. And I think there was a switch at some point that triggered that. And I think in this series, that's probably where we're going to see it.
With the third sister, she's the trigger that...
that's what I think. I think, personally...
No, I agree with you on that she's the trigger point for Anakin.
She reminds him so much of Anakin in how she presents herself, how self-entitled she is sometimes. And it's just like... It feels like she's been set up to be a symbolic sacrifice, if you will. Like, she symbolises everything that Anakin was. So in order to move forward, he needs to kill that.
Yeah, so it's not just him killing her for failing as Inquisitor, but he's killing her and killing Anakin at the same time.
Yeah, that's what I think anyway.
No, I agree with you. Okay, so what about the way Kenobi is now? I understand it's been 10 years, but my God, is he broken?
Yeah, I mean...
His PTSD is through the roof.
Yeah, he didn't even know that Anakin was still alive, did he?
Even the fact of Leia just saying... No, not Leia. The third sister.
It was Reva, yeah.
Yeah, Reva just saying Anakin is alive. The way Kenobi just broke down, it's like, this guy is so screwed. Any little thing that you mentioned of his old life, that's it. Kenobi breaks down. He's not the man he was. Because when you look at the scene of when Obi-Wan's chasing Leia. Now, I've seen some people say, oh, how the hell can Kenobi not catch her? One, it's been 10 years. He's completely disconnected from the Force. He's got to be, what? Mid-40s?
Is that 40, 45, I think?
So let's say he's mid-40s, right? Around about 45. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that people at the age of 45 are incapable of
we know that because obviously Qui-Gon was that age.
Yeah. What I mean is Obi-Wan is in his mid-40s, but he's a battle-hardened military general. He's so broken, not only physically, emotionally, if you want, spiritually. Everything that he had is gone. He's so disconnected from the Force in the same way how Luke was disconnected in Episode 8.
Which we all hate, but yeah.
Bear in mind that, but he's disconnected. He's not the flexible, agile Jedi Master he was.
He's not in sync with the Force anymore.
He's not in sync with the Force.
In fact, he probably hasn't used it in 10 years either.
He's not used it in the 10 years up until the point where he saved Leia from hitting the ground when she fell off the building.
And also, I mean, people are going to complain about it because obviously Kenobi is supposed to be this great and powerful Jedi.
But what people have got to remember is, right?
Well, just look at Fallen Order. Cal Kestis, the way he starts.
True.
He can barely stop someone from falling to their death.
So let's take it, right? He's a 45-year-old man. He's physically broken. It might have been 10 years. He's still physically broken. He's disconnected from the Force. There was huge groups of people. She's 10. Now, I know I don't have kids, but any parent, whether it's a mother or father, anyone that's got kids, when you're at that age and when you're, say, 45, between 45 and 50, and they're 10, they're extremely difficult to catch. Because kids, not only is she
small, she's also got a lot of energy.
She's got a hell of a lot of energy, and she's quick on her feet. And him being a broken military general and a broken Jedi master that he once was, and her being that young, agile kid, most people struggle to catch kids like that. She's quick on her feet. Plus, she's so small, she can zip in and out between people like there's nothing. He can't. If he was the size of Yoda, it'd be a different story.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's a normal sized human. She was never going to be able to, let's say, fall over and for him to catch. He was never going to be able to catch her. So people say, oh, it's ridiculous that he can't. Okay, you try being broken for 10 years, not being connected to not being the person that you once was, and you try to catch a 10-year-old. Guarantee you will fail. 100%.
Yeah, and I think what the important part is, I find, is that, especially if you've played the Fallen Order game, Cal Kestis, who was a child at the time, so he's still young when we catch up with him, like, was it 5-6 years later? He completely cut himself off from the Force. He hid it.
Yeah.
He could barely stop someone from falling to their death.
He struggled a lot himself, and he struggled like that. And if you're taking that, you could say, oh, but Master Kenobi was so much more in tune with the Force. Yes, but he's been disconnected for 10 years. He's completely shut himself down the way Luke did when he went to Arc 2.
I mean, when we look about it in the episode, he's constantly asking for guidance from Qui-Gon Jinn, but he can't hear him.
No,
and the reason why he can't hear him is because he's not in tune with the Force anymore. He's just not.
Once he's able to reconnect with the Force and he's able to kind of get back to how he used to be when he was Master Kenobi.
I mean, he's not used the Force at all in these 2 episodes, except to stop Leia from falling, and he barely managed that. By
the skin of his teeth, he managed to save Leia.
And that was because of desperation. So
now, let's take the relationship between Leia and Obi-Wan. She doesn't refer to him as Ben when she sends that message via R2. Why doesn't she remember him? Because she knows Ben and Obi-Wan are the same person. He basically lets her know that. Why doesn't she remember that? Has she had her mind partially wiped?
No, I think what's happened is she knows him as Ben. Ben is the one that's saving her. Ben is the one that will save her later.
Yeah, but she refers to him as, you served my father during the Clone Wars. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope. But if we're going by that, then she would say, help me, Ben. But
because I think what happened is after that, because it's 9 years later, right, roughly. So what basically I suspect happened is after she gets back to Alderaan, she then looks him up and she finds out that his actual name's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
But he told her though. In the first 2 episodes, he basically let her know. She's like, oh, so you are Obi-Wan Kenobi. Why can't you use the Force? Stuff like that. So that's what I'm saying is if
you look in the episode, actually, she sees his face on the thing, but he does, as far as I can remember, he never specifically says his name is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and she continues to call him Ben the whole time.
Yeah, because that's how he refers to himself. Is like
he refers to.
Well, I thought, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought he said, "But I'm no longer Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm just Ben."
He said that to the Jedi.
Okay, yeah, he did say it to him, but kind of doesn't he basically, in a way, hint to Leia that he's no longer Obi-Wan, he's just Ben? Or am I mistaken?
I don't remember that part myself. He's only ever been referred to by her as Ben, as far as I know. Everyone else around them has referred to him as Obi-Wan Kenobi when they've known him, but she wasn't present at the time.
So then has she gone through archives and then find that?
So what I think probably happened is that she's then asked her dad about who this mysterious Jedi is that she's sent. And he's then confirmed that it's Obi-Wan Kenobi. And then she's looked into who he used to be. But because she's already formed an emotional attachment to him being Ben, when she sends the official message,
She refers to him.
She refers to him as Obi-Wan Kenobi because that is his official name.
So because obviously she's already got such an emotional attachment to him as Ben, that must be why she then names Kylo Ben.
Yes, because it seems like
she's doing it in a way to pay respect to Obi-Wan.
Because if you recall, she never actually sees Obi-Wan Kenobi when they come to save her on the Death Star. She only knows that Luke's friend is called Old Ben. So she's probably made the connection later.
She's put 2 and 2 together to say Old Ben is Obi-Wan.
But at that time, she didn't know that it was the same person.
So then, okay, so at the moment, Obi-Wan's with Leia. As she, let's say, so he's got her, he brings her back to Alderaan to her father.
Yeah. I think that's what's going to have to happen.
So she knows him as Ben, and then as she's just, let's say, walking off, going, let's say, with one of the servants, he then turns around and says, "Thank you, Obi-Wan." And she overhears her dad calling him Obi-Wan. Maybe that's how she starts to make the connection.
Yeah, because when you saw that he took the thing off the bounty hunter, she said, "Why is that your face?" She doesn't mention his name at all.
True.
So it's based on what I remember from the 2 episodes, he never specifically is referred to as Obi-Wan Kenobi around her at any time. So she only associates him with the name Ben, because that's the name he gave her.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point.
Or rather, that's the name. Yeah, that is the name that he told her. That's what his name was.
Now, the bit where the ship lands and the Inquisitors walk out, right? That reminds me of when Moff Gideon done that.
Yeah.
In The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
That's what that reminds me of.
It was probably supposed to be a homage of some description. Right?
Oh, it has to be. Because, like, the ship lands down, out comes the other people, out comes the big chief himself, the Grand Inquisitor. That reminds me the exact same way as Moff Gideon when he turned up to face Din.
I mean, based on what we know about Moff Gideon, I mean, it seems like he modelled himself after Vader anyway, so it's not that surprising that he comes in dramatic like that. I mean, there's a reason why the guy uses a lightsaber instead of using a gun, right?
I mean, in all due respect, I think we'd all rather use a lightsaber than a gun.
I know, but what?
Because kind of like as Obi-Wan says.
Yeah, well, I get what you're saying.
When Obi-Wan uses the blaster to kill, what's his name, General Grievous, it's like so uncivilized, and just throws it away. And it's like, yeah, because it's uncivilized compared to that of a lightsaber. We'd all rather use a lightsaber.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, yeah, we would. But I mean, the thing that I'm saying is that he's an Imperial, which means he was trained with weapons like guns and stuff. He would be more comfortable with those weapons, but he specifically chose to use the Darksaber because he wants to give off that vibe of Darth Vader or an Inquisitor, someone like that, someone that's the Force.
So he's trying to emulate, let's say, the Inquisitors.
Yeah, because basically, just look at his armor. The armour that he wears, it reeks of Inquisitor and Darth Vader. It reeks of both.
Okay, so let's say he's not going full to the hill of Lord Vader. He's just gone to the Inquisitors.
Which would make sense because as far as he's aware, they're basically equal in terms of where they sit.
Yeah, as far as he's concerned, Vader and the Inquisitors are on a level playing field, which we all know they are far different.
They're definitely not, yeah, we know.
They are definitely not on the same page because the moment the Inquisitors fail, Vader will slaughter them. Any Inquisitor, including the Grand Inquisitor, fail, Vader will slaughter you. Does the Emperor appreciate it? No. Does he understand it? Yes, because Vader... The Emperor's like Vader. They both hate failure.
I think in terms of the Emperor doesn't care because he's kidnapping all of these Force-sensitive kids anyway.
So even if Vader just disposes
he's like, there's always more.
So it's like, you've killed another one, Vader. Alright, it's kind of a pain, but alright, I've got another 6 to replace them. Take your pick. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Because remember, they said that they've stopped hunting Jedi and they're starting to hunt Force sensitives instead of any kind. Usually children.
Well, the children are easy to manipulate.
Yes, they are, and it's easy to indoctrinate a child into becoming an Inquisitor, which is what I think probably happened to Eva. I think she was a youngling or a young Padawan, and she was then turned into an Inquisitor. But because she wasn't a full Jedi like the others, they looked down on her.
Now, so you mean like kind of like what we see in the beginning of Episode 1 during Order 66?
Yeah, I mean, it showed us that a lot more have escaped than we thought.
Okay, so like what we were saying earlier, right? Of, let's say, her being saved by Obi-Wan to then be supported by Anakin. During that time between her being saved by Kenobi and Skywalker and Order 66, has at some point her Force ability been discovered and Anakin finds out about it? Let's say he notices her as he's slaughtering the Jedi, and he keeps her alive thinking, you will be useful to me someday. He doesn't specifically take her with him, but he uses, let's say, one of the other Inquisitors to then capture her, and then he basically manipulates her, crushes her down until she becomes the third sister.
I think in terms of what happens with the Inquisitors, it's still very vague. We don't know exactly what the process is to becoming an Inquisitor. What we do know is what we can put together based on all of the others, like Rebels and stuff. Whenever they have students that have really high aptitude tests,
They're basically tortured.
they're basically tested to see if they are force sensitive, because, as you know, luck and superior physical abilities are signs of someone being force sensitive, even though they're not actively a force user.
But in like becoming an Inquisitor, they're basically tortured.
Oh yeah, 100%.
They're more than likely put through some of the most brutal training.
The fact we know they're tortured can be seen from specifically the second sister, because it specifically mentions that in order to torment Seer, because they want her to be an Inquisitor as well, they bring in Trilla after they've turned her into an Inquisitor, which they did by torturing her.
Yeah. So,
and obviously it didn't pan out too well for them, because Seer then gave into the dark side but killed everyone in the room.
So there has to be connection between all of it, between her as a Padawan, her becoming Inquisitor, and her knowing about Anakin and Vader as one and the same. But as I said,
yeah, we're still missing a few pieces, because we can kind of put together that she could have been one of them younglings. But where did she learn that?
More than likely, she's that youngling you see at the beginning of episode 1.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense.
Otherwise, if she's not that youngling in the opening scene,
that scene doesn't make sense.
The whole thing makes zero sense.
It has to be important.
Yeah, it's important for a reason. Otherwise, if it wasn't important, they would never have showed them, 4 kids? But they kind of more showed her a bit more and focused a bit more on her, or that Pacific youngling, more than the others.
Yeah.
And that has to, so it's like kind of showing her, that youngling, for a specific reason. It's like, okay, this is her as a youngling. During Order 66, now she's an Inquisitor. But that's why I wonder, between her being a Padawan and her being an Inquisitor, when he was still Anakin before he took on the suit as Vader, when he lost to Obi-Wan or Mustafar, did he find out either himself or through another master about her Force ability to be able to read people's minds?
The thing is...
And that's why she was never killed by Anakin. Okay, he killed other younglings. Maybe that's why he never... Now, the other 3 younglings are probably dead.
Yeah.
And he probably kept her alive specifically because he knew about her Force ability. And he probably said to her, you will be useful to me. And kept her. Maybe he kept her. Let's say he knocked her out and then took her with him. She was probably going to, let's say, not put up a fight, but she was probably going to try and run away from Anakin. He's probably knocked her out using the Force, took her and brought her with him, tortured her until she became an Inquisitor.
See, I think in that respect, I don't see that being the case because Anakin, when he was there, had a very clear mission.
Taking out the Jedi.
Kill the Jedi. There was never any indication of, oh, this person will be useful for my future plans. He didn't have any future plans at that time. The only thing he did is, I need to follow the instructions of the Emperor, or I won't be able to save my wife. That was the only thing he was thinking about. Now, is that to say that some Imperial agent or even the Emperor himself didn't find her later? No. It could quite possibly have happened.
Okay.
What I think might have happened, though, is that she escaped from the Jedi Temple, but I think she ended up in the slums of Coruscant. Because they refer to her as a gutter rat.
Oh, yeah, they refer to her as a gutter rat. Okay, so...
So that what I think happened then is that she ended up in the underbelly of Coruscant, and she was steal and everything to survive. So she became basically a criminal.
What we're saying is she wasn't then taken in by Anakin or the Emperor. So in that sense, was she taken in by the Grand Inquisitor himself? Did he find out about her?
It's quite possible that if he didn't find her, one of the other Inquisitors did, or some of their Purge troopers did, because as they said, they started kidnapping Force-sensitive kids after they ran out of Jedi to murder.
Then I'd say...
So they might have just discovered her, found out she was Force-sensitive, and then they immediately drafted her into the Inquisitor program.
I'd say probably the most likely... Well, probably not the most likely, but I'd say for me, the most likely option is the Grand Inquisitor himself found her.
Which is probably why he talks down to her so much, yeah.
Yeah. Is because he knew what she was. He knew you were just a gutter rat when I found you. You were nothing. You had nothing. Kind of like how Rey was.
Yeah.
You were nothing.
And I think the reason why
it was basically you were nothing like Rey was. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be who you are now.
Yeah.
I made you. Not only have I made you,
it does give that vibe.
I will destroy you. Cross me and I will take you out. Now, okay, she does stab him, and if you want, kill him. At the end of episode 2, he's not dead. I think what happened with the Grand Inquisitor, with her, let's say, killing him, quote unquote, is the same thing that happened when Boba Fett took out Cad Bane. He's not dead. There is no way you're going to have a character like the Grand Inquisitor for 2 episodes and just have him wiped out. That easy. Not a chance.
See, I think the thing with Cad Bane, I think that probably could be how he dies, because his rivalry with Boba Fett was the key thing back then. It was like, oh, they had a rivalry because they were always going after the same bounties and stuff. So in that context, it made sense that Boba Fett was the one that killed him. But in this context, the Grand Inquisitor can't die because, as we know, he's in Rebels.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what else happens.
But doesn't the Grand Inquisitor species have 2 stomachs? So she's probably pierced one of his 2 stomachs.
See, I'm not too familiar with his race in terms of what their capabilities but it's certainly possible.
I'm only going by what I've seen is his race has 2 stomachs. She's probably pierced one of his 2 stomachs. He's then going to be taken to... Where's the HQ? It's on that moon, ain't it?
It's the water moon, yeah. I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, I know what one you're talking about.
So he's probably gonna be brought back
to Castle Inquisitorius, yeah.
And if he's not taken back there, he'll be taken back to the nearest possible place and thrown straight into a Bacta tank. Because as you said, we all know he cannot and will not die in Kenobi, because otherwise they've retconned Rebels, and they won't.
Especially when it's Dave Filoni, because that's like his baby.
Yeah.
He loves Rebels.
So let's say, for argument's sake, she's killed, quote unquote, she's killed the Grand Inquisitor. He's probably allowed her to kill him, so then he can use her betrayal to turn that against her to work in his favour, because he, in a way, he hates her. He don't like her. None of the Inquisitors like her. He specifically doesn't like her. He's going to use her betrayal of him to go back to report that to Lord Vader and say, like, look, she's she's told you Obi-Wan took me out. We both know Obi-Wan never done it. She was the one that betrayed me. Vader's gonna be like, oh, so she's the one that betrayed you, not Obi-Wan. Fine. Leave it with me. I'll deal with it. Disposes of her.
Yeah, because I mean,
which then ties into the Grand Inquisitor dobbing her in, saying she's the one that stabbed me, in a way trying to kill me. I let her do it because I knew there was something off about her, and then the Grand Inquisitor tells Vader. Vader goes to confront her. She tries to grovel or challenge Vader to a fight. Let's slip that he's Anakin, slaughters her.
So yeah, I think with the Grand Inquisitor,
interlinking in together with things.
With the Grand Inquisitor, I definitely don't think he's dead. But I don't think he let her stab him. I just think he wasn't expecting it because he believes that she's inferior.
Oh, so basically in a way that she caught him off guard. He
never expected that she would betray him because she's so beneath him that he doesn't even notice her. But it plays into the whole betrayal thing, because the reason why they're called brother and sister is because they're supposed to be a brotherhood of collection. Even though they bicker, none of them have ever outwardly betrayed each other.
But the thing is, that's kind of like how it is in real life though. You and your brother don't get on. You and your sister don't get on. So them bickering makes sense in reality. Like, brothers and sisters don't get on. Brothers, sisters and sisters don't get on.
You see that with the fifth brother and the other ones. They defer to the Grand Inquisitor without question.
Yeah.
Because in their mind, with their camaraderie, he is their eldest brother, and therefore he is the one to obey.
Not only is he like the eldest, he's basically the alpha of the group.
Yeah.
It's kind of, without me, you guys are nothing. Without me, you guys will fail.
And the fact is, he probably knows. They probably know that he was a temple guard.
More than like, yeah.
And he's probably the one that trained them how to use the double-bladed lightsaber, because as we know, Darth Vader does not use them.
No.
Which means someone had to train them. Because let's be realistic, all of the ones that we see, they all have double-bladed lightsabers. But most Jedi do not. Which means someone had to train them. And that someone is got to be the Grand Inquisitor. Maybe that's why he's the Grand Inquisitor in the first place. Because he's the one that trained all of them.
But then who trained... what would be interesting thinking about is if the one who trained the Grand Inquisitor to use a double-bladed lightsaber was Maul.
The thing is
because
that...
who else uses a double-bladed lightsaber other than Maul? Now, could Maul have maybe trained the Grand Inquisitor when he was younger, before he became an Inquisitor?
The thing you've got to remember with Maul though is that Maul created his double-bladed lightsaber as a necessity. In one of his missions, the single-bladed lightsaber wasn't good enough because the person he was hunting had a strange weapon that allowed him to get around it. So he had to create a double-bladed lightsaber. It's why, when his original lightsaber was cut in half, it still worked.
Okay.
Because it was two single blades attached.
So maybe... Okay, so then let...
So it wouldn't have been Maul, because Maul was never a Jedi. He was trained as a temple guard who do use double-bladed lightsabers. All of them do. Yeah. And I reckon the person that trained them was probably Sindralig. Who was the Jedi Battlemaster at the time.
Nah.
The one that was killed by Vader.
So then maybe he then found holocrons or recordings of Maul as well, using his to learn even more about how to be twice as effective. Or should we just take Maul completely out of the equation?
I think with Maul, the problem with Maul is a lot of what he does is self-taught. Sidious did train him how to use a lightsaber, of course he did. But the double-bladed lightsaber was unique to Maul because Maul is the one that created it. He's the one that created that double-bladed lightsaber, and therefore he is the one that trained himself to use it. Which ironically is why he was able to fight the Temple Guards in the first place, because they weren't prepared for his style.
Yeah.
It's why he was able to dispatch the Inquisitors so easily, because none of them were prepared for that length of double-bladed lightsaber. Because if you recall, the lightsabers that they use go in one hand. They might be double-bladed, but they only sit in one hand.
Whereas Maul can just flick between the both hands.
Exactly, and because Maul's ones operate independently, it's got 2 crystals in it.
Mm.
So it's actually all of them have 2 crystals in it because they have to. But his has 2 power in it as well, because he literally can put 2 single blades together to create it. So when they cut one in half during the fight, he was still able to use that side of the lightsaber because they only cut off that half. And as you see with Cal Kestis, his one that we thought was only a single-bladed lightsaber turned out to be a double-bladed lightsaber.
Yeah, because he splits them in half and can.
It's because it can disconnect. It's got 2 power supplies in it.
So he can basically he can hold them the same way as Starkiller does.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Okay, so now what do you think is going to happen with the 5th brother? Because he don't like her, but what's he up to? He wants the top job, because he's under the impression the Grand Inquisitor is dead. So he's probably thinking, right, I'm going to try and push for the top job.
I think he's going to be the first one to find out that the Grand Inquisitor is actually alive.
But
because in Rebels, after the Grand Inquisitor dies, they don't replace him. And the 5th brother is still just the 5th brother.
Oh, so I was going to say, is he going to be the first one to die? But then obviously that wouldn't make sense if he wouldn't be the first one to die.
Basically, the ones that we've seen in the show that don't appear in Rebels and therefore are freely capable of being killed is the one with the weird things on her head, the yellow one. She could die. Reva could die.
She's definitely dying. That's a given.
Out of the 3 that we've seen, only 2 of them, the Grand Inquisitor and the 5th brother, are in Rebels, which means the others can die.
So then, who's the other one? Then was she the 6th sister? Because I don't remember what they refer to her as.
Yeah, see, I'm not sure about her. I think, didn't they refer to her as the 8th?
What, the 8th sister?
Yeah.
I
can't remember.
I don't recall. But maybe because she doesn't seem to be being built up as predominant as the 5th brother and the 3rd sister, then she's probably gonna be the one that's gonna be.
She might be the 4th sister.
I don't remember, but I think so. Let's say if we take it, them 3, she's not being built up as the other 2,
which means that she can die.
She will die first.
Possibly, yeah.
She'll die first.
Reva will probably die.
Reva will die at the hands of Vader.
Or maybe, depending on how the timeline works, maybe Trilla kills her, the 2nd sister.
But for what reason?
Because Vader tells her to.
Are we talking the 3rd sister that Trilla kills her?
It's quite possible.
I think it's Vader.
But then, like I said, I don't know how the timeline works. I don't know how far ahead Fallen Order is, or where it sits in the timeline at the moment.
What, between Kenobi and the Fallen Order?
Yeah, because we know that Kenobi is 10 years.
Well, the other sister in the show, I think she'll die in a fight. I think she'll die, let's say, in a fight between her and Kenobi or her and someone else. She'll die first. The 5th brother survives.
Oh shit!
What?
Yeah, so she won't be in it.
Who?
I just looked it up. Apparently, Fallen Order takes place 5 years after Revenge of the Sith, which means 5 years before this.
So 5 years.
So Trilla's already gone at this point.
Oh, okay. So that rules out the 2nd sister then.
Yeah.
So the other one, she'll die. She'll die first. She'll die in a fight, and I think she'll die in a fight against Kenobi. The fifth brother survives. Reva dies at the hands of Vader because she'll let slip that she knows who he is, of him being what's his name? Anakin. She'll let that slip. She'll reveal it. He kills her. But the other one, she'll die. She'll die quite easy, I think, to Kenobi.
I think sure. Yeah, I think if she's going to die, it will have to be at the hands of Kenobi, or even Reva. Maybe she becomes completely unhinged, which is why she needs to be stopped.
Oh, so you think she becomes completely unhinged and then takes out her?
Yeah, maybe the other Inquisitor tries to get in her way and she kills her. It's not like she's unwilling to do that. I mean, she did it to the Grand Inquisitor, didn't she?
Yeah. Now, see, what I'm finding here, I don't see... I've got the fifth brother, I've got the third sister, but I can't seem to be the other one. No.
Yeah, I don't think they've referred to her rank yet. I think they just referred to her as sister, but they didn't specify which.
Which sister she is.
Yeah.
I thought they did refer to her, but I guess I was wrong. But
well, they might have, and maybe we just missed it.
It's possible that we've missed it. So, see, the thing is, when you see the bit where they're like, oh, we've come across the Jedi. He helps people to escape the planet, and it's like, hold up a second, something about this just doesn't seem right. And when you see him talking to that poor woman and her kid, you knew for a fact it was complete lies. As soon as they're like, oh yeah, we've got a Jedi here, he's been helping out everyone, straight away something to me was like, yeah, something about this is totally not right. And the way he went about it is he made it so believable by using magnets and other mechanisms to make people believe that he really is a Jedi. I tell you one thing, to the untrained eye, it's convincing.
It's convincing enough.
It's convincing enough that he can trick people, take their money, send them off on probably some nonsense journey, but he does get them off a planet. Now, where these people go to, that I don't think matters, is the fact that he gets them off the planet and sends them somewhere else. That's what I think is important. The rest of it is kind of irrelevant, but he makes it very convincing. But the way Obi-Wan turns up and is like, yeah, that's not, you're a total fake, that's not how the Force works. Yeah. You can't just start doing this to people. You know, the guy's obviously a crook, such a crook that he's going to pretend to be something he's not to make money. But the thing is, desperate times calls for desperate situations, and a lot of people would do the exact same thing, and they were in his shoes. If you could pretend to be a Jedi to get a lot of money off people, you would do it. When you're in a rough situation on a rough planet with virtually no other way of income, you do what you got to do to survive.
Yeah.
But I like the fact it's only until afterwards that I found out the one that tries to give Obi-Wan spice is Ewan McGregor's actual daughter.
Is it?
That's what I actually think that is really cool.
That is quite clever, isn't it?
Is like you just see this young girl just coming up to Obi-Wan and they're like, you want some spice? That's not what I thought she was going to offer him. I thought she was going to potentially try and offer him a good time. Obviously, you don't really get that in Star Wars because it's Star Wars.
Yeah, well.
But that's what I thought she was going to try and imply. It's like, you up for a good time? No, it turns out Ewan McGregor's actual real-life daughter playing a spice dealer.
I didn't even know that. That's mad.
Yeah. I found that out afterwards. It was like, oh, like, Ewan McGregor's daughter, the spice dealer. It's like, how much has Obi-Wan failed that his own daughter is now a spice dealer? How has that gone so wrong? You have failed me for the last time, daughter. That I actually thought was quite good.
That's quite clever.
That's quite clever. They've used Ewan McGregor's actual daughter to not to be in the show, but she's a spy stealer. Not sure how that it was meant to. It's like, I don't think he ever imagined that. The great Obi-Wan. It's like, oh, your daughter's a dealer. Oh, whoops.
I'm pretty sure that they probably asked if she wanted to be in it, and she was like, yeah.
Yeah, she's probably like.
I mean, who doesn't? I mean, you know what I mean? It's Star Wars.
Is there like, do you fancy being in Obi-Wan Kenobi with your dad? Sure, you're going to be a drug dealer. All right, I'm fine with that. Anyone would be fine with whatever role they give. Even if you're in Star Wars for 2 minutes and you're killed, you could just say, I was in Star Wars. It's like, see that guy there that's been cut in half? Yeah, that's me. I'm the dead guy.
It's funny when you think about it. Actually, it's like that spy stealer has more character development than some of the people in the newest movies.
You're done. You're gonna start including the other characters from the Disney trilogy. That's a rabbit hole I don't think you really want to go down.
No, not really. No, that's why I only made it vague.
But the thing is, right? It's not the actor's fault.
No, it never is. It's always the director or the producer who does it.
Like what happened with Hayden Christensen. Was it? Oh, what was the name? What was the name of the actor who played the young Anakin?
Was it Jake Lloyd?
Jake Lloyd, Ahmed Best, the Jar Jar. Was it Kelly Marie Tran who plays Rose? It's not the actor's fault. They're doing the best of their abilities with the script that they were given. Is the way the characters have been wrote.
Yeah.
So it's don't attack the actor, attack the character. If you want to attack the character, go ahead. Me, I hate Rey. Rey despise her, thinking she's a worthless, useless character. She's powerful just for the sake of it. Daisy Ridley, fantastic actress. I think she's great as an actress. She puts on a hell of a performance with a useless script, but it's not her fault. That's why I think it's part of the reason why the Disney trilogy fails.
Yeah, I mean, you'd sit there and you're looking at it, and it's like, you watch the first movie, and you're like, okay, Kylo's the bad guy. And then you go through all 3 of these movies, and you're just sitting there, you're like, no, I sympathise more with Kylo than I do with any of these other characters. How does that work?
But see, Kylo, the way he kind of goes on reminds me a bit of a younger Anakin. He's arrogant, he's cocky, he's full of himself. He thinks he's better than what really he is.
And then when he doesn't get his way, he throws a tantrum.
Yeah, when he doesn't get his way, he has a hissy fit. Or he has more than a hissy fit. He has I'm going to destroy everything with my cool lightsaber bitch fit.
Yeah.
Whereas Anakin just stands on the side, why can't I be a Jedi Master, but you want me on the council? How does that make sense? And it's like, well, just take a seat. It's like when Mace Windu tells you sit down, you sit down.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you're not going to argue with Samuel L. Jackson.
If he tells you to sit the fuck down, then
you're going to do it. At the end of the day, you're not going to say, motherfucker, I told you sit down. You want to disobey me again? Chosen one? Yeah. Let's see how chosen you are when I cut you in half. When I best you, boy.
Well, as we know, getting cut in half does not automatically mean you can't come back.
Well, Maul's the best example of that. So, where do you think Kenobi will go? I don't mean the character, the show.
The way I see it is...
Because he, as I said, he's far beyond broken. How do you think he's going to get back to how he was? How do you think he's going to get over this whole PTSD?
I think he's going to have to go to a planet that is strong in the Force. Maybe the one that Grogu went to when they were trying to look for Jedi. Maybe Tython. He's going to go there. He's going to connect to the Force more fully, and then he's going to complete his training with Jin. And that will reconcile who he was with who he is now.
So you say him going to a Force-strong planet. What's stopping him from joining Yoda on Dagobah?
The thing that's stopping him from going with Yoda on Dagobah is purely that they won't want to draw attention to Dagobah.
They won't want to draw attention to Dagobah.
That being said, that would be quite an interesting way of doing it, but when you look at the original trilogy, it makes it very clear that Yoda hasn't seen Obi-Wan since Revenge of the Sith.
Oh, because I was... Okay,
Because he says it's been a long time. But that could easily be retconned to being like 9 years as opposed to 20.
See, because I was thinking, okay, let's say a way for him to reconnect, not only with the Force, but to connect with Qui-Gon, go to Dagobah and learn directly under Yoda.
Because the thing I see with it is that the problem is that he now knows that he's being hunted.
So then obviously he wouldn't want to go to Dagobah.
He wouldn't want to go to Dagobah because that would draw attention to Yoda. And everybody thinks Yoda's dead.
True. So then how else... So you think he's going to go to, let's say, the planet that Grogu went to?
There's a few planets that come to mind that they could use. If they wanted to connect into Fallen Order a bit more, they could use Ilum.
I was just about to say that.
They could use Ilum, but I don't know how badly it's been strip mined by this point. It might actually help Obi-Wan to realise what they've done to Ilum. But realistically, if you're going to meditate somewhere, you want to go somewhere that is new and is not very well known. Typhon isn't a place that many people go to and not many people know. The only reason why anyone knows about Typhon is because they were led there. Typhon is a force-rich planet because that's where the Jedi Order were originally. And Vader has been there before, but again, that occurs just before A New Hope, so there's still a gap.
So that's where you reckon that he's going to go?
I think if it's not Typhon, it has to be somewhere else that's very strong in the Force, or at least neutral enough for him to focus.
Mean, if that's where the Jedi Order originally was, makes sense.
In the Legends continuity, Typhon was the birthplace of the Jedi Order. I don't know if that's still true now.
Well, the thing is, they have been taking things from Legends and kind of, in a way, retconning them or changing them a bit and then making it canon.
What we do know...
So then it is possible that that's what they'll do. They'll take it, slightly change it, or keep it as, this is the birthplace of the Jedi Order. He goes there to reconnect with the Force. Then, obviously, he's going to then be able to communicate for the first time with Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yeah.
And then he's going to talk to Qui-Gon. I would say that when he talks to Qui-Gon, I think he's going to ask for Qui-Gon for guidance.
Yeah.
He'll kind of say to him, Master, what am I supposed to do? I can't kill him. And he'll kind of, in a way, he'll just pour his heart out to Qui-Gon. But will it be a thing is we'll only hear Qui-Gon's voice, or will we see him as a Force ghost?
See, that's where the problem comes. If you're on a very strong Force planet like Typhon, Qui-Gon would be able to physically appear, because if you remember, he didn't fully learn everything that the priestesses taught. He couldn't corporally appear, but he's able to keep his consciousness but not create a physical form. So the only time he's ever actually shown up was when it's on a really Force strong planet. And I don't think they're going to get Liam Neeson to come back. So my likely assumption is that they will...
They basically got Liam Neeson back.
As a voice, yeah.
Yeah. But I think they'll kind of do what they've done with Mark Hamill in The Mandalorian. They'll de-age him to when he's was.
I think if they do that, it'd be... they would have kept that secret massively well hidden.
What, you mean Qui-Gon or him being de-aged?
No, him just coming back physically. That would be a massive secret that they were able to hold. And that would be quite impressive. I mean, it's not like they hadn't done it before. They did it with Luke, as we know. I think realistically he's going to communicate with. He is going to communicate with Qui-Gon Jinn. I just don't know whether we're going to physically see him or actually hear him, and we're just going to hear Kenobi's side of it. I don't know.
Was it in Rebels that we do actually see a Force ghost of Qui-Gon though?
We see a Force ghost of Qui-Gon on the Priestess's planet when Yoda goes there to complete his training. And the reason why he explains that he can show up on this planet because of how strong it is in the Force.
So then, if he goes there to relearn how to connect to the Force, we could see Qui-Gon in person.
Yeah,
as a Force ghost.
Yes, if he goes to a planet that's really strong in the Force, he'll be able to physically appear.
Then that's what I say could happen. Is he'll go there, and he'll be able to. He'll start talking. Master Qui-Gon, and then kind of Qui-Gon just walks up behind him. It won't be how it was. What was it? Episode 8, where Yoda turns up and hits Luke on the head.
Yeah.
It might be like that, where kind of Obi-Wan's sitting there meditating, trying to communicate with Qui-Gon, and Qui-Gon just walks up behind him, places his hand kind of on the shoulder of Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan feels it and looks straight up and sees Qui-Gon standing there. That, I think, would be amazing.
Yeah. I would, if that is what they do, I would really enjoy that. That'd be amazing.
I think that'd be amazing. It's not hearing the voice of Qui-Gon Jinn, but actually seeing Qui-Gon
because
Jinn.
we know for a fact that Liam Neeson is coming back because he's going to be in Tales of the Jedi, which is coming out this year, but it's animated.
Yeah.
So we know he's coming back as a voice. So, I mean, there's no reason why he couldn't come back physically if he wanted to, but like I said, that would be a massive revelation if they did do that.
I would love to see that, but that's what I would. That's how I envision it. Obi-Wan sitting there, meditating, trying to connect with Qui-Gon. And then as he's doing, Qui-Gon responds to him, and he's there, and he kind of like, "Oh, Master, you've communicated." And as he's talking, he just then walks up behind him, places his hands on his shoulder, on his left shoulder. Obi-Wan feels him, just shoots up, looks at him and goes, "Master, you are here." And then Qui-Gon sits down and they have a deep discussion about what Obi-Wan's going to do with Anakin Vader.
Yeah, because what we know is that he completed his training with Qui-Gon, because otherwise he wouldn't have appeared as a Force ghost later. But at this moment in time, we also know that he's not able to communicate with Qui-Gon because he's not in sync with the Force anymore.
So then, as you said, he has to go somewhere that's strong in the Force.
If he wants to force his connection to reconnect as quickly as possible, he will need a strong place of the Force to make it work.
Which I think we've already...
Which is partly why when we watched Mandalorian and Grogu went to Tython, the reason he went to Tython in the first place is because of its strength in the Force. It amplified his signal asking for a master.
So then that's probably where Obi-Wan goes and then reconnecting the Force.
Yeah, he would be reaching out, and someone would respond. I mean, it might not even be Qui-Gon. It might be Yoda. If he goes to Tython and does what Grogu did, and he reaches out, it could quite easily be Yoda.
It could quite easily be Yoda, but I don't think
it wouldn't have as much impact. I don't think.
No, having it as Yoda wouldn't be as impactful as Qui-Gon Jinn. But wouldn't Yoda trying to communicate back? Wouldn't that be too risky for Yoda?
See, the thing is that with Yoda, the reason he is covered from being sensed
is because he's on Dagobah.
Is because he's on Dagobah, which is naturally aligned to the dark, is naturally more aligned to the dark side, specifically the dark side cave, which radiates dark side energy all the time. That doesn't necessarily mean that Yoda can't use the Force, because as we saw, he was able to lift Luke's X-Wing out of the swamp, and that would have been a really potent show of Force power that someone would have noticed if it was like a beacon.
Right. So,
someone would have noticed it. But I think the cave covers him, so he can do that.
So another thing, I was talking about this to a friend of mine at work yesterday. He said, could we potentially see Mace Windu? Because it's never actually confirmed if he's dead.
And I mean,
because
as we know from TV, if you don't see the body, there's always a chance that they're alive. Yeah, I get what you mean.
So could we potentially see Mace Windu?
There's no reason why we couldn't, because, I mean, Samuel L. Jackson is under contract with Disney anyway, for Marvel.
But not only that...
And he's always said he's willing to come back.
He said he would love to come back. Not only that, he still quotes Star Wars perfectly, word for word, every time.
Exactly. I mean, there's no reason why he couldn't come back. I mean, yes, he got hit by lightning, but that doesn't...
And he was thrown out the window, but Jedi can fall great heights, as shown when you had the scene with Obi-Wan and Anakin, where Anakin fell...
He jumped out of the car,
He jumped out at quite a height and fell down and managed to easily survive. Okay, bear in mind it's under very different circumstances, but there's no reason that as Mace is falling from that height that he couldn't save himself.
Yeah, but we've also seen it in the Fallen Order, though, haven't we?
What, with Cal Kestis?
Not just him. If you remember Seer, when she attacked Vader, he pushed her off of that. He pushed her off of the thing, didn't he, with the Force?
Yeah.
And she fell, and he thought she died, but she hadn't.
So then there's no reason why Mace never survived.
No, it's quite possible that he did. In fact, it might even be possible that Cal Kestis shows up in some capacity at some point. I don't think he will, because that kind of ruins the whole thing, but it's possible. It is within his time
But it'd have to be a younger Cal Kestis. Didn't you say there was 5 years between Kenobi and Fallen Order?
In the other direction. So he'd be older.
Oh, he'd be older.
Yeah, the Fallen Order occurs 5 years after Revenge of the Sith.
So before Kenobi?
Before Kenobi. So he'd be older.
Yeah. So then, I don't think it'd be... Because I think I've seen there's apparently due to be a number of surprise appearances by certain characters. So...
But I don't think they will, purely on the basis that they've just confirmed the second game. So they won't want to oversaturate.
What? Cal Kestis? It's possible, but there might be a good way to... This might be a way to kind of remind people, like, look, Cal's still here. So it could be a way to reignite that flame that people had.
It's quite possible that they won't, purely on the basis that they don't want to give you the idea that Cal Kestis is going to survive. Because it's quite possible that he doesn't.
What, in Fallen Order 2?
Yeah, because if you know for a fact that the character's going to live, like we know with Grand Inquisitor, it reduces the impact of what happens in the game and things like that. Like, we know for a fact that the Grand Inquisitor can't be dead because he's in Rebels.
Yeah, unless they retcon it, which I don't see them doing, because I don't think they've...
Yeah, I don't see them doing it, because they're using the Grand Inquisitor as one of the main bad guys in the next Fallen Order game. So...
That guy's not the Grand Inquisitor, though.
He looks like him.
He looks like him, but he's not him. Where's his yellow eyes? Where's his markings on his head? That's a discussion for another day.
Yeah.
Because... Like,
I thought it was, personally.
I thought it was, but I don't think it is, because his eyes are too black. And there's no yellow around his eyes. And where are the markings on his head to show that he's the Grand Inquisitor? Yeah. I don't think it's him.
Maybe you're right.
So if I see it correctly that they're saying there's due to be a number of special appearances, certain cameos by certain characters, could we see maybe episode 4, 5 or 6, the last 3 episodes, a surprise appearance by a broken kind of machine, kind of like how Anakin is as Vader. He's half man, half machine. Could we see that with Mace?
Well, he only lost an arm.
But how do we know that something else hasn't happened to him since that?
True. That is true.
So we could see, or let's say we'll go by that. He's just lost a hand. He'll be like Luke. How Luke is and how Anakin was before Obi-Wan done to him what he did
Yeah, I mean, actually, it's more of he has a whole arm because he cut it off there, didn't he?
Yeah.
So it'd be an entire arm. But
So,
yeah.
so let's say we see the appearance of Mace Windu. Which
would be awesome.
What other characters would you like to see in Kenobi? Mace Windu, I think, would be fantastic. Qui-Gon Jinn is another one, but who else? And a surprise appearance by someone that you'd probably never have thought of or never see coming.
I mean, one of the ones that you would think would be in it would probably be Ahsoka, because she'd be around at this time. But then that creates its own problems because she would have to be younger.
Okay, but I don't think it would be Ahsoka because she might be doing other things with Ezra.
No, this is before Ezra.
That's before Ezra.
If you remember, in the original Rebels series, he's 14 or 15 years old. And he was born on Empire Day. Which means the start of that series is 14 to 15 years.
I need to re-double check.
So it's about 4 to 5 years after Kenobi.
I need to look back up my timelines because obviously in Rebels, 1, Ezra is a teenager, and 2, Obi-Wan is no longer Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan, he's Alec Guinness Obi-Wan.
He's Ben Kenobi.
Yeah, he's old.
He's old Ben Kenobi, yeah. And that would be within the... And that occurs in the 3rd or 4th season when Ezra's 17 years old. So that's like 2 years after.
Ahsoka, yeah. But I think Ahsoka again is
I think Rex could show up.
Rex could show up.
Because Rex survived and he would be in hiding.
So I think Rex would be a better choice than Ahsoka. Ahsoka, I think, he's become too big of a character now to use.
And we've already had one clone trooper. There's no reason why we can't have any more.
There's no reason why we can't potentially have someone from the Bad Batch turn up.
Exactly.
We could potentially have Wrecker.
Yeah.
But what other characters, let's say, that have probably not been used as much, or we've not seen for a long time? We'll take, let's say, either from the... Let's say take the prequel trilogy. A character that was either from the prequel trilogy or the early set off of the Clone Wars, the spin-off show, not the movie.
The problem is that we don't know who survived.
Pull a name out of the hat. Well, it does again. We don't. Yeah,
I believe Eve Koff survived, but I don't know. He was one of the Jedi that escaped.
Yeah, we don't know who has and who hasn't survived Order 66, but for sake of the argument, we could just make it up of who we would like to see, of who you'd like to see. A character we've probably not seen for quite a long time turn up in Kenobi.
Characters that don't get that much attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, one of them would definitely be Quinlan Voss. That'd be good if he shows up properly.
Yeah.
And what else? I think you definitely Quinlan Voss, because he would be one of the most interesting characters I find. Mace Windu, as you said, that'd be cool. Liam Neeson, if he doesn't show up, I'm massively disappointed. If he doesn't show up as Qui-Gon Jinn, because that'd be great. I feel like Yoda is going to show up. Maybe
Yoda will show up. Qui-Gon will show up. Mace Windu is a big shot in the dark, and it's a massive hope. And for them to keep that secret, and no one has any idea that Samuel Jackson is back, would be a massive shot in the dark. Will they do it in this 6 episodes? No. I think they'll leave it for a next season.
And also, we don't know how these 5 and 6 episodes are going to go. We don't know whether there's going to be a jump at some point.
Oh, like a time skip.
If there is going to be a time skip, what I would like to see is when Ezra comes to find Ben Kenobi on Tatooine,
So
they have that in the actual live action. That'd be cool.
What of Ezra? A live action
Ezra actually, you see Ezra coming. That'd be cool.
I don't think it will be the end of this. I think if they do a few seasons of Kenobi, let's say 3 seasons, I think by the 3rd season is when Ewan McGregor will transition between his Obi-Wan Kenobi into more of Alec Guinness's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, because he'd have to be older.
Yeah, that's what I think. Once they're kind of done with the in-between of episodes 3 and 4, of where was Obi-Wan Kenobi? What happened to him? What's he been doing since the fall of the Jedi Order? Since the fall of the Republic? Where the hell was he? The hell has he been doing? And eventually they'll build it up until they've kind of caught up to Ewan McGregor becomes Alec Guinness's Obi-Wan, and then you've basically gone into episode 4.
Yeah, I mean, the way I see it, I mean, if there are a few people that they want to cameo that aren't possible purely on the time period, if they did a time skip with the Ezra one, as I suggested, that would also mean that they could have Maul show up.
Or a rematch between a pre-rematch, or just an interaction between Maul and Obi-Wan.
Well,
because obviously
in that episode, they started with a fight.
Yeah.
And he just like wipes out Maul in one hit. It was like very anticlimactic.
So are you gonna so what we saying, like Maul turns up and they have an interaction before they fight? So them leading up all the way up to Maul and Obi-Wan fighting. I like to see that.
I think that'd be really good. I mean, I know that would require a time jump forward, though. But if they weren't going to make another season, and we don't know if they are or not, because they haven't said otherwise, any other way. If they're not, then I would suggest that they should jump it forward, and then have that interaction with Maul.
I can see them doing another season or 2, because for them to try and fit that much into 6 episodes ain't
it's
possible.
Not going to be easy.
One, it won't be easy, and 2, it will feel rushed, too compact, and there won't be enough of it to digest, and they'll kind of rush through it and ruin the show.
Yeah, they could have a younger Boba Fett show up.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. A young Boba Fett.
Or maybe some other bounty hunter like Bosk.
Now, see, I would like to see Bosk again.
Yeah, because he's one of them ones where he shows up, but you don't see him do much.
Now, with the Kenobi show, will we see the fight between Obi-Wan and Black Chrysanthemum? See that live action? I'm down for that.
I would watch that. That would be amazing.
I think if they're saying there's going to be surprise cameos, Obi-Wan and Cad Bane, for whatever reason.
Obi-Wan and Cad Bane do have history. That would be quite an interesting one. But the problem is there's going to be no risk involved in that, because we know that Obi-Wan survives and we know that Cad Bane survives.
But how does the fight go? And how does Cad Bane survive?
Well, I mean, Obi-Wan doesn't really go for the kill.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't go for the kill. But I think that would be quite good to see a live action fight between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Cad Bane. But
it would be cool.
It would be cool. Will it happen? Probably not. But I think the one that I think they're gonna go for is Obi-Wan versus Black Chrysanthemum. That live action, the way Black Chrysanthemum was in the Book of Boba Fett, yeah, I'm down for that.
I would watch that 100%. That'd be amazing.
I'm down for that. So
it could also be the reason why Black Chrysanthemum has some of those scars.
Yeah, but he is.
Is he?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, he's. I think it's in one of the comics. There's an interaction where I think if I'm remembering this correctly, Black Chrysanthemum goes after Uncle Owen. Obi-Wan saves him. Obi-Wan and Black Chrysanthemum have a fight. Obi-Wan uses his lightsaber, and that's how Black Chrysanthemum gets the scar on his eye. Is because of Obi-Wan.
No, that'd be great. That'd be great.
Now, from what I've seen, the fight they have, holy shit. That is a hell of a fight. Now, to see that live action would be amazing, but that's how Chrysanthemum gets that scar is because of Obi-Wan with a lightsaber.
That'd be awesome. I would love. Yeah, no, I would watch that 100%.
I'd watch that. Now, are there any other characters you want to see turn up?
I think what is a must is that we have to have R2D2 show up. You already had C-3PO briefly.
See, now, I thought kind of at first, but obviously it wouldn't make sense, is that the droid that he has, I kind of thought, oh, maybe that's R2 fighting, R2 hiding. No. But doesn't he kind of forget C-3PO and R2-D2?
No, he pretends to forget.
So he pretends.
If you remember, everything he says is the truth from a certain point of view.
Yeah, that's true.
He says, you need to listen to what he specifically says.
Yeah, it's true.
He says, I don't recall ever owning a droid.
Which he never did.
He didn't specify that he didn't recognise them. He said, I've never owned a droid.
So if C-3PO is with Bail Organa,
which as we know,
R2-D2 must be with him as well.
It should be.
He should be.
Theory. Because the thing with C-3PO is C-3PO was mind wiped and R2-D2 wasn't.
True. So C-3PO is with Bail Organa. So then the question is, if R2's not with C-3PO and
then
Bail,
where is he?
Then where the hell is he? What the hell has happened to R2? Where is he? Who's got him?
What we do know is that Leia has to own R2 at some point because he's with C-3PO in A New Hope.
So how does he go from, let's say, being with Anakin to the Jawas to Leia to then Luke? Or have I got that back? I've got that backwards.
You've got it backwards because R2-D2 was on the ship with Obi-Wan when they had Padme. So
how does he go from Anakin?
As far as I'm aware, he was with Padme and then went with Organa with C-3PO. But C-3PO had his mind wiped, whereas R2 didn't.
But why?
I think it's because R2 doesn't speak, whereas C-3PO does.
Oh, so whereas
R2-D2, if you don't know binary or the robot language or whatever they call it, you can't talk to R2-D2.
And there ain't many people who are.
And realistically, you need someone who is aware of who Anakin is and who Darth Vader is.
Because it seems to me that a lot of people that seem to communicate with R2 are all Force sensitive.
Yeah.
But why does Padme understand him?
Padme understands him because she is a... Aside from the fact that she's a senator, she was also a queen, which meant she had her own protocol droid and likely had another droid as well.
So she probably had like another...
She probably had her own droid.
Similar to R2.
Yeah.
And that's probably how she knows.
I think all of the R2-y type units all speak the same language anyway, because Chopper speaks the same language.
True.
And he's fuck knows how old.
That's true.
He's much older than R2, I know that for a fact. And he was built from scrap, so...
So like where you see Obi-Wan having mental breakdowns and flashbacks, nightmares of what happened.
Those are clear signs of PTSD.
Right? Are we going to potentially see Anakin, or not Anakin, and we're going to see Vader having flashbacks? And could we potentially see a flashback of Padme?
I don't see why not. I mean, it's definitely a possibility. Do you know what I mean? Like,
kind of like, you know how...
He has to remember the reason why he hates Obi-Wan.
So let's say he has the flashback. He's on Mustafar. Ship's there. She comes walking out to obviously confront him. And then Obi-Wan turns up. He's probably thinking, oh, so you've taken my wife. You're sleeping with her. Oh, hell no.
The thing that people need to remember is that the Emperor lies to Vader all the time. As far as Vader is aware, he killed her.
Which he never.
which he didn't, as we know, but he
Yeah.
doesn't know that.
He doesn't know that. But
The only time he finds out that that is the case is literally when he finds out that Luke is a Skywalker.
Yeah. But so he has flashbacks of him and Padme. Happy, you know how you see where Obi-Wan's him and Anakin are having great time. Straight to him being slaughtered on Mustafar. Will we see the same thing with Vader? He's having happy memories of him and Padme. Then it turns out, then it changes straight to Padme walking down and him thinking that she's now betrayed him and she's left him for Obi-Wan. And then him suffering, him and Obi-Wan fighting, him burning, and then him just in his back to tank. It starts bubbling due to his anger. And as he's in his back to tank, he starts crushing everything in that room due to how angry he is at remembering what he thinks is Obi-Wan betraying him with his wife.
Yeah, see, I think a lot of people... I think part of the problem with that is that a lot of people read that scene differently from how it was supposed to be intended. It wasn't supposed to be intended of, oh, Obi-Wan is cheating on... is cheating on... Obi-Wan is having an affair with my wife.
Yeah.
I don't think that was what the point was.
That wasn't the intention.
The intention of that scene was that Obi-Wan has turned Padme against him. As in, she now sees him as a monster. He thinks that that was Obi-Wan's fault. He doesn't understand that his actions is what caused that.
Yeah.
So I think people read it wrongly. And I think part of the reason is because in the original script, that was how it was supposed to be. In the original script that Lord Lucas created, it was supposed to be like a love triangle situation, which ended up being absolute shit, which is why they got rid of it.
Thank God.
But because the dynamic was...
It wouldn't, to me,
it wouldn't have made sense, because Obi-Wan is like the pinnacle of what a Jedi is supposed to be.
And it wouldn't be right for him to then fall in love with someone else after him and the Duchess.
And, yeah, but at that time, that wasn't in a consideration, because if you remember, Clone Wars wasn't created until after Revenge of the Sith.
But at that point, yeah, it had already happened. So I don't see Obi-Wan falling in love with another woman that quick after how mad in love he was.
In the chronology of it, yeah, it occurs after the Duchess was killed by Maul. Therefore, he wouldn't. But I mean, they would, if they had put that in the movie, they would have had to count that in Clone Wars, and it would have just been messy and rubbish.
Yeah, thank God they just got rid of it.
It's a cliche as well. Because I mean, with Obi-Wan and Anakin, they are brothers. Like, that is how their relationship was always treated.
And in a way, I would say kind of Obi-Wan kind of looks at Padme like a younger sister.
Padme sees her... I mean, he sees Padme as a dear friend, as he always has.
Yeah.
But he hasn't got that level of relationship with her.
No.
I mean, he was clearly aware of the relationship between Anakin and Padme and said nothing.
He knew about it because it reminded him of himself.
Yeah, and the Duchess. And I think part of the reason why he didn't hand him in is because of that. He's like, I've been there already. I've been there, I know what it's like. And as I said to you before, he literally said to the Duchess that if she had asked him to stay, he would have left the Order.
Mm.
So he had that level of relationship with the Duchess to the point where he would have stopped being a Jedi for her. So as you said, that scene wouldn't have made sense in the context of how much he cared for the Duchess.
But that's why I think, yeah, one, you're right, and I think they will go down and explore Anakin Vader with his PTSD to see him. We've seen it from Obi-Wan, now we've got to see it from Vader's.
See, I think in Anakin's case, I don't think it's PTSD, I think it's just his hatred. I mean, it would probably take the form of PTSD, but because it's like because it's the dark side lies, as we know. Because, you know, when they released that comic book and they were talking about, oh, look, it shows that Palpatine is really his dad. And it's like, no, it doesn't.
No, that's not.
It was a vision from the dark side that lies.
Yeah.
So what I think is going to happen is if they do show that, it's going to show his distorted belief in what happened that day. That's what I think is going to happen.
Oh, so it'll be of...
So even though we know that's not what happened, what he perceives it as is going to be totally different.
So it'll be basically Vader's version of what happened in the fight between him and him and Padme with Obi-Wan turning up, the fight and afterwards. So it won't be what actually happened, it will be
how he perceived
he perceived what actually happened.
Because as I said, at that point he was already being immersed in the dark side, which means the dark side was already influencing his mind.
And he was already being manipulated by Palpatine.
Yeah. So I think if we do see that scene, which I think we should, because it's a good way of exploring his damage as well, that would be what happens. We would see his version of that event.
Besides that, is there anything else you want to see in Kenobi? We've covered characters. Is there anything else you'd want to see?
I don't know. I mean, I think we need to see more interaction with Luke. But because he's got all of this interaction with Leia now. And while, yes, I understand that Uncle Owen told him to stay away from him, the fact that Luke knew him and was familiar enough with him to be devastated by his death kind of feels like he should have an already pre-existing relationship with Kenobi, which he doesn't at the moment.
So has Obi-Wan going to get a round-down between him and Owen? So he can have some sort of a relationship with Luke. The only thing that I can think of at the moment on the top of my head is Luke runs away.
Yeah, I believe
not runs away, tries to leave the planet.
He runs off exploring like he would be to do like as a kid.
And then Obi-Wan is the one to go after him
and brings him back. Yeah,
and then Owen's like, I don't need you. I'm more than capable of doing this myself.
Because I think he didn't spend enough time with Luke to establish that he knew his father, because he didn't know that until A New Hope, because that's when he told him. But I think they must have some level of familiarity before that. Kind of like he has with Leia at the moment. He hasn't specified anything about her real mother or her real father. The only thing he's done so far is protect her and tell her that his name's Ben.
True. Anything else you want to say?
I think we need to see just how vast the Inquisitors actually are, because we know there's a lot, but we don't know how many. And I think what would be good is if they connect Fallen Order a bit more, because in Fallen Order they had like Purge Troopers.
Ain't there only like 9 Inquisitors?
No, there's more than that.
More?
There's more than that.
How many does Vader... Well, I would say...
As far as I'm aware, there is a 10th brother and a 10th sister, which means there's at least 20. At least.
At least 20?
Yeah. Or at least 19, because there's a 10th brother and there's a 9th sister. So I don't know how their numbering works. I don't know whether that one has the number and then brother or sister, and then the other one has a number and then so on. I don't know.
So you don't think the thing is like, you're the first brother,
but the fact none of them have matching numbers seems to indicate that it goes from 1 to 10 and the brother or sister is applied afterwards. That's what it seems to like to me.
Okay, so you don't think so it's not a thing of like...
So if there isn't 19 of them, then there's at least 10.
I was close enough.
Yeah. There has to be at least 10 to make up for the numbers.
Yeah. So it's not a thing as like, you're the first brother, you're the first sister.
Yeah,
it's just, you're the first brother, you're the second sister, you're the third sister, you're the fourth brother.
Yeah, I think that's how it works.
Must do.
Yeah, because as far as I'm aware, it only goes up to 10.
That rings a bell, yeah.
Because the 10th brother is in the comic books, and he's one of those near humans that are blind. You know, the ones that wear the blindfolds. The Miralukas, I believe they're called.
Oh, was he not the one? He's the one with kind of like the
He wears a thing over his face, and he wears like a ninja type mask. Yeah.
Like the thing that goes across his eyes. Like, what is it? The guy out of Star Trek.
Geordie LaForge. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that. Yeah.
But don't we see him in? Is it Rebels? Don't we see him in one of the shows?
No, we see someone with a helmet that has that on it.
Well, don't we see him in Rebels though? The 10th Inquisitor.
No, because I believe that the 10th Inquisitor, based on what I saw, was the 10th Inquisitor dies after he's killed by clones.
Oh.
Because they were hunting a Jedi, and the Jedi knew that they were Jedi, and he pointed it out to the clones, and their Order 66 happened, and he killed them instead. He basically used the Force to manipulate them into realising that they were Jedi, because he used the Jedi mind trick on them, because at the time the Purge Troopers were clones.
Oh.
So he used the mind trick on them to re-trigger Order 66.
That's sick.
Yeah, but
that's sick.
They were Inquisitors, so he didn't care.
God, could you imagine getting Order 66 twice?
Yeah.
So it was like...
That's basically what happened.
That's sick.
She basically... I think it was... It was a Jedi, and the Jedi was a bit hardened at this point. So he literally just went, you know that they're Jedi, right? And he goes, execute Order 66, and he used the Jedi mind trick to make him think the order came from the Emperor again.
Oh, that's sick.
and then the clones shot at the Inquisitors.
Oh God!
And the 10th brother is one of the ones that got killed.
God, going through Order 66 twice. God. I think at that point that's the end of Kenobi. That's it. He's done. He's like, I'm not going through this again. I'm done.
And basically, the Jedi re-triggered it so that he could escape.
Yeah. That sounds like a fair enough point to me.
And so the 10th brother is the only one that we've confirmed who was also alive. And I think the big one from Fallen Order is actually the 9th sister, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that sounds right to me.
Yeah, I think she's the 9th sister. So he was the 10th brother and she's the 9th sister. So there's at least 8 more just there somewhere.
Has to be. Well, I think we've covered a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot. I mean, we'll reconvene after episodes 3 and 4. See if we've got anything right, how far wrong we were, and
more theories.
More theories and plot twists, and what the hell's going to happen. See what happens after episode 3 and 4, and see where we're going to go from there. But I think that's enough.
Yep.
Right, good. Well, we'll join up again sometime. We'll go for episodes 3 and 4 then.
Yep.
Thank you for joining us.